tutorial on cystic fibrosis. It's one of the 3 genetic disorders that we'll be taking a look at. What I would like for you to do is go ahead and punch in that YouTube and watch a short video on cystic fibrosis, and then come back and we'll finish this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed the video. What is cystic fibrosis? Again, it is a progressive disease. Its symptoms primarily are mucus that is thick, dry, and sticky, and it lines all of the passages of your body. So any tube in your body, including your throat, the lungs, the tubes that connect the kidneys, the tube that connects the intestines to the pancreas, and to the liver, they all have mucus, and their mucus is a very thick, dry, and sticky, and materials just don't flow through them. This leads to several different problems, breathing problems, of course, so it's like having it's like having bronchitis or pneumonia most of the time. It also leads to malnutrition because those digestive enzymes that come from your pancreas help to digest and break down some of the materials that you'll find in your stomach, and then that lead to your intestine. The average life expectancy with people with CF or cystic fibrosis is about 30 years old. So if you had cystic fibrosis, you would be about halfway through your lifespan. Who suffers with this? The most common is Caucasian children, and it's extremely rare in Native Asian and African people, but are more common in those populations in the United States. Some of the facts: 1 in 22 Caucasians are carriers. If you remember, carriers are individuals that carry the gene but don't possess the disease. So it's like the big T, little t. So you would carry it, you could pass it on, but you yourself do not have it. So 1 in 22 Caucasians are carriers. So if we had a sophomore class of 60 kids, about 3 of us would be carriers. It affects boys and girls equally, so there's not a sex-influenced part of cystic fibrosis. So what are some of the other symptoms? A blocked small intestine is sort of the first red flags. 99% of all babies that have a blocked bowel, which is basically they can't poop, that first poop. And the reason is their tube is very thick, the mucus is very thick and sticky, and so they're trying to pass that meconium stool, which is a thick, black, sticky stool, and they just can't do that. So that is the first red flag. However, they can't get a definitive test until they're able to sweat, and their sweat has a higher salt content than normal babies. Some of the other symptoms: clubbing or rounding of the fingers. You can see in the picture there that the tips of the fingers are sort of clubbed. One other thing: breathing problems, lung infections, a cough that just does not go away. They are in and out of the hospital a lot. It is the most common fatal autosomal recessive disease in Caucasians. Autosomal means it's carried on one of the other 44 chromosomes, not the sex chromosome. And again, it's carried on chromosome 7, and it is recessive, so you can have carriers. To have the disease, you have to be homozygous recessive. You have to get 1 defective gene from mom and 1 defective gene from dad. You can see again it's found on chromosome 7. People who have the CF, it's called actually cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator, or CFTR. And the purpose, or the sort of the cause of this, is there are 3 letters out of the gene's total 6,100 bases, 3 bases that are missing. And those 3 bases are CTT. Because of that, they have cystic fibrosis. You and I, on that single gene on chromosome 7, have those 3 bases. Therefore, our mucus is not thick. It's its normal consistency. How is it inherited? Again, 2 heterozygous parents, or 2 carriers, have a offspring. You can see in the Punnett square there, both parents have the recessive C, and 1/4 of the children will have the trait, or will be a cystic fibrosis. 50% of the children will be carriers like mom and dad, and 25% will be homozygous dominant. How is it being treated? You can see in the video that there's different types of treatments. One is by medicine, either orally or nasally through the nasal mist, and also breaking up the pneumonia, using that vibrator vest. There's also lung transplants, but again, there is no cure. There's only treatments for this disease. Is there genetic testing? There is genetic testing. It's generally done by a blood sample. They do have to be screened to see if they are carriers for it. This type of genetic testing allows parents to find out if the chances of having a child with CF. Here is the story of Brandon Hargroves. I do not know him, but this is off the information from the Cystic Fibrosis that if you want to go ahead and take a minute, you can read that. But this is basically it for cystic fibrosis. I hope you enjoyed learning about this genetic disorder.